Let's talk about some elixirs. We have been having way too much fun on stream, by the way, guys. Make sure and come check me out on Twitch. Come hang out. It's a good time. We've been cutting literally hundreds of elixirs. I wanted to get my hands on this new elixir cutting system, and I've been loving it for the most part. Every now and then you just get a spree of bad luck. But in my opinion, I feel as if the elixir system is much improved. Is it perfect? Is it where I would love it to be? No, but it is vastly improved from the previous system. So much, in fact, that on my top three characters, my glaive, my slayer, and my war dancer, I have all bis options with at least 8 points on every elixir, with many 5/5s thrown in there as well, which that was not previously the case. Previously, I just had 40 sets. Most of them were, I think I had like maybe 1 or 2 out of 3 characters that had both bis options in that selected slot. For example, like my helmet here on my slayer is 5 critical, 3 strength. Previously, that would have been like a 5 critical, 3 stagger, or 3 MP or something like that. Whereas now you can see they're all bis engraved or bis options in these elixirs, and that's the way it is for my top 3 characters, excuse me. I'm still working on the bottom 3, but I ran out of elixirs to cut, so you know, that's a work in progress. But I also have cut a fresh 40 set on 2 characters as well. I just wanted to comment on that real quick, and of course I'm going to have some elixir footage playing in the background here while I yap a bit. I feel like it's much easier to just read the options and think, oh, this is a benefit to the selection that I want, or the elixir option that I want. I'm going to go ahead and click this. So you do, whether it's great success, whether you have chance at points, or whether you have a upwards or an increase in percentage of transmutations throughout the rest of the elixir cutting for that particular elixir. Any one of those is good, and it's much easier to understand, and I think it's much easier also to get that fresh 40 set done. Even though you are gifted the 40 set, the luck set, so you really only have to cut your gloves and your helm and get the proper set on there, and get at least 8 points on each one, or like a 5/5 and, you know, like a 3/4 or something like that to cover the difference, just so that you have a 40 set in total. For each one of those fresh 40 sets I had to cut, it took me under 10 elixirs to get that 40 set, or those 2 pieces with 8. Actually, I believe it took me less than 5, but I don't want to undercut it and make it seem like it took shorter than it did. So I want to say it actually took 3 elixirs on my glaive, and I think about 5 or 6 on my breaker. Also, with the min-maxing, I do think it's easier as well for min-maxing. I've cut so many elixirs with the old elixir cutting system, free elixirs and gold elixirs, and I never had bis elixirs like I do now. I feel like the system is just so much more straightforward and much more engaging. It's shorter, and the amount of crazy things that can happen, like you get 25% chance to hit 3 points, and then maybe it crits too, so you get 4 points. It's very intriguing to play and to interact with comparatively. Now, I do also want to talk about some strategies, because there are a couple things that changed, and I feel like it's not as min-maxy in terms of the strategies, but there are still some things, as in, where do you re-roll? Because you only have 1 re-roll, and re-rolls are actually a pretty strong choice. However, there's a couple of different places that you can use them, or a couple of options that I've noticed that you can do for them. Number 1 strictly being, if you are playing for a move all of the options up or move all the options down, you obviously have to use that re-roll before turn 3, because you start sealing at turn 3. So that's one of the things that you gotta make sure and do. Another one that you can use it for is at the very end, when you're sealing, in the sealing stage of those last 3 turns, because there are options that give you not just a seal plus it transmutes an elixir, but there's options that give you, you can choose the one you want to seal, plus it's going to transmute 2 effects, or it's going to transmute the lowest effect, or it's going to transmute a random effect, right? Those are really strong in the ceiling stage because of extra points, plus of course you can possibly crit on some of those as well when it transmutes. So it's a possibility of a lot of points going towards those elixirs or those options that you want. I also noticed, I think this is the third one, and not to overwhelm anyone here that maybe they're kind of new to cutting elixirs, but you can also use it if you're noticing that this elixir has some pretty good potential, and maybe on turn 5, 6, 7 you're noticing that you get a turn that just does not do anything for any of the options that you are trying to hit, and maybe, like I said, it's going your way pretty well, but this one just doesn't have any options or good options for the elixirs you need. Then that is also not a bad place to use a reroll, because you might end up with like a 0 to 3 option for one of the ones that you have, or a 75% chance to hit 2 on one of the options that you need, or whatever it is, right? So I think those are really the 3 big scenarios, but you can't really go wrong with a reroll unless you're just being very, very greedy and you have a decent option that's available from one of the sages, and you reroll to get like a crazy option instead of just like an okay one. I think that's really the only time that you're just, you're taking a huge risk by using that reroll for that. But overall, guys, I think the Elixir system is absolutely fantastic. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Obviously, I know the system very well previously as well. I've caught so many freaking elixirs, it's wild. The only thing that feels bad when you're cutting these elixirs now is whenever you get a dead elixir from the jump. And that just does not feel good. So I wish that they would maybe make a small change to that, and overall it'd feel fantastic, because there was several times while cutting my elixirs that I would open a chest of like 5 or 10 elixirs, and I would have to immediately throw away like 7 of them, or 3 or 4 out of the 5 elixir chests, and it's just like, well, they're just dead. I can't even use them. Maybe they had like a chest option and a shoulder option and a glove option on there, and so I couldn't even cut for an actual piece. And the only thing that I could have put on there is like attack power, or they have support buffs on there, instead of DPS buffs, but I'm obviously a DPS, so it just makes it really feel bad. That's the only thing, especially if you're kind of down bad on elixirs and you really need to cut some for your character. You want to cut better ones. It just feels bad, right? And that's the biggest thing I think with these systems. And even Transcendence, it's still pretty RNG, same with elixirs, but Transcendence feels fun. It's fun to see it. It's fun to interact with. I did just a little bit, and this isn't a Transcendence video, but what matters the most is how it feels while you're interacting with the system. Even if it takes gold, even if it doesn't take gold, if it feels terrible or it doesn't feel good, then that's obviously not something we want. We don't want to interact with it if that's the case. So I feel like if they changed that, modified it so that it was very rare to get an actual dead elixir out of like a pack of 5 or just period ever, maybe make every single one of them just have general options or something like that, so that if you're trying to go for a piece like a headpiece, you choose the critical helm, or for shoulder piece, you're going for boss damage, or for support, you can choose the luminary or whatever set piece that you're going for on your helmet and gloves. That way there's no such thing as literally a dead elixir. But when you're min-maxing, maybe you don't get any of the general options that are, like deep for DPS. You can do strength, weapon power, attack power. Maybe you don't get any of those. Well, that's unfortunate in those first 4. That's okay. In that case, it would kind of be a dead elixir if you're min-maxing, right? But if you're just trying to get a 40 set, there's no such thing as a dead elixir. And that, I think, would feel fantastic, especially for the new, returning, and casual players, because there's no such thing as a dead elixir. But if you're min-maxing, there is a slight chance that there might be a dead elixir. So yeah, I think that would be a really welcome change. If it's going to happen, probably not. As it is now, I feel like I've thrown away so many elixirs, and that's the only con to this. But so I hope that they do improve that. I hope they change it, and it would feel much better. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about on this video, guys. Of course, there are some crazy cuts that you saw in here, and it's been an absolute blast on stream, again, cutting these with everyone, and the ups and absolute downs that come with it. But overall, we've had a ton of fun. So guys, guys, make sure and come and watch me on Twitch. Hang out. It's a good time. Everyone's chill. It's a very good time. We're going to be doing some more raiding. We're honing Breaker to 1670, and we're going to hone Soul Eater to 1670 as well pretty soon. So guys, come out, watch that, be a part of it. I know everyone likes a little bit of GAN, but we got a lot of Transcendence upcoming as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And if I don't see you on the Twitch, then I will see you on the next video. Guys, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.